And the last game that I wanted to talk about, Liverpool versus City. Liverpool versus City was the hyped up game of this week. Everybody wanted to see it. The last two champions, both of them breaking records in their respective seasons when they won the league. Um, just two dominant teams with two great coaches. Pep versus Klopp. It lived up to the billing in the first half. It was scintillating soccer. It was great to watch. The NFL was on at that time already. NFL Sunday had kicked off, but I was watching that Liverpool game. It was back and forth. The midfield was wide open. It was fluid. It was end to end. The first half was just amazing soccer. And then in the second half, they kind of pulled off a little bit. They took their foot off the pedal. And I think it was understandable that both teams have had very busy schedules and they're traveling everywhere to Champions League and then back to league. And in the 60th minute, I believe, Trent Alexander pulled up with the calf injury and he was gone. And they're saying that he won't be back till December or mid-December for Liverpool. And Liverpool's already been reeling. They already lost Van Dijk. And now to lose Trent Alexander, that back line is taking a beating. Thankfully, they got Alisson back a little quicker than expected. But I think Trent Alexander going down in the 60th minute kind of made everyone a little weary. They were if they were going all out, maybe it made them like question themselves. In the Premier League this year, I think muscle injuries are up 20% from last season, and it has to do with the small off season and all these games that are getting packed in to have a full season. And I mean, I want to touch on the game a little bit before I dive into the second point, but it was a good game, back and forth. Salah scored a penalty to start things off, and then Jesus came back and scored a goal. All he does is score goals. Jesus, he's a bright striker for City. He always seems to be in the right position, even when things go bad. They still go right. Because on that goal, it looked like he had a bad first touch, and then he reacted quicker than the defenders and was able to poke the ball in. And then they called, just like in the Wolves game, they called another penalty against Liverpool. That was a handball. I think De Bruyne was trying to whip the ball into the box, and it hit a Liverpool defender. I think it hit Gomez's hand. He's trying to like turn around and get away from, like not let the ball hit his hand, but the ball was coming with so much pace, and like he's just running back to his goal, so his hands are naturally going in front of him. Hits his arm. Penalty for Liverpool. Unfortunate situation. De Bruyne missed the penalty, so I was like, ball don't lie, because I don't think that was a penalty. Announcers didn't think it was a penalty. I remember the announcers were saying, like, I don't think it's a penalty, but did you guys watch the Wolves game versus Leicester right before this? They called it a penalty. It's just hard. Like, what is the defender supposed to do? I think they're gonna call it a penalty, and then sure enough, the referee goes to VAR, checks it, and then he comes back and blows a penalty, calls for a penalty. And that kind of upset me. I don't like those type of penalties. I think it's bad for soccer. It's bad for football. It's gonna incentivize people to just look for the handball, look for a cross, and hit the opponent's hand. I don't know. I don't like it. I think they should go back to one more time. I think they should go back to the old rule where you gotta see if there's intent. If there's intent of the player to block the ball with his hand. If not, then just keep on playing. It's part of the game. They're moving. People are running. Their arms are gonna naturally move. If it hits his hand without him intentionally trying to stop the ball, then no penalty. But just after that, it was a great game, back and forth. I thought maybe Jota was gonna get on the scoreboard. I did predict a massive victory by Liverpool. They look good in Champions League, and I was like, Jota's on fire. He's gonna keep continuing to score goals. But I did not consider that they're playing a gruesome schedule right now. They're traveling back and forth. I think the Premier League is the only league out of the top like 4 or 5 leagues in Europe to revert back to the 3 subs. Everywhere else, they still have 5 subs, and the Premier League, for some reason, thinks they're better than everybody else. And I did not consider fatigue going into this game, and I think both teams were content just getting a point. Liverpool, they're pretty high up in the table, so they could afford to not drop points. And I know City, they're already behind, and if they would have pushed to go for the win and then they would have conceded a goal to Liverpool and they would have lost. And now they lose 3 more points to Liverpool. That was not gonna be good for them. So I now look, hindsight's 2020, but I can see why this ended in a 1-1 tie. But after the game, what really caught my attention is that both Pep and Klopp made it a emphasis to just, like, they were asking them questions about the game and how it went, and they were like pretty quick to just say it was a good game, and they applauded their players for playing good, for doing this, for doing that. And then they both quickly transitioned into like looking straight into the camera or looking at the reporter and just telling him, hey, what needs to happen is the people that are in control of these games, the people up top, they need to take care of the players. Trent Alexander, England international, is hurt. He's going to be gone for a while. He's not going to go to play these international games during international break for England. And all these muscle injuries that are going on around the league. Even Ole, the coach for Manchester United, was complaining too about the TV schedule. And I agree with them. Like, you have teams going to Turkey, you have teams going all over Europe playing these games, and you reduce the subs to 3, and then you make them play the early game. Like Klopp was saying, you can't make these teams that are going everywhere, traveling to all these places, play the early games. You just wake up and you play. You don't even let your body like get its natural like rejuvenation, just get back into like a good state. And if you keep doing these, like, players are just gonna keep dropping like flies, and they're just gonna keep getting hurt, and it's gonna be bad for the league. And I think I agree with that. Like, I know that they should definitely add 5 subs again. Like, they need to talk about that. Like, come on, like, it's a weird year. Obviously, if you don't want to keep it going forward, once we're through this pandemic and we're back to normalcy, that's fine. But as of right now, with teams not being able to train as much as they can because of COVID and COVID restrictions and everything that's going on, you gotta have 5 subs. You gotta do it. I know the smaller teams are complaining because they don't have the rosters to make those 5 subs. Like, if they make those 5 subs, maybe the third, the fourth, the fifth sub are not as impact as they would be for like Liverpool or City. If they want all those 5 players that are coming on are quality players. But the other leagues around the world are doing it. In Spain, they're doing it, and the table is still, jumbled up. It's still chaos. And as far as it goes, I think at the end of the day, even right now, when there's the way it's going, as you see, Everton is like the perfect example. They started off hot, and naturally, there's going to be injuries, and there's going to be suspensions, and there's going to be a drop in form. And they're already down in 7th. And I think naturally the top teams are always going to end up at the top. Like, it's always going to be City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, Tottenham. All those teams are always going to be at the top. Maybe you get a surprise team that ends up in the top, but they're always going to be at the top. The only difference that's going to happen if you don't change nothing is they're going to get there with a lot more injuries. So I think they should go to 5 subs. I think they should consider... they got to talk to the TV providers, to the people that set up the schedule, and see if they could do anything to maybe help out these teams. Because if they're playing Wednesday night all over Europe and they're getting the early Saturday game, then it's really tough on the body. It's hard to recover after going all out for 90 minutes and then telling them to play 3 days later, play another 90 minutes at full intensity. It's just hard. So I do agree with Klopp. I do agree with Guardiola. They need to do something about it.